Alright, so this is a summary video for Emotional Think Tank Season 2, Episode 3. There was an issue with the audio, which I see is perfect, so I get an opportunity to review my take on it, some of the things that I observed, and then, as always, I would like you to comment and post questions or your own insights, and especially how this has worked for you. That's the key thing, is that these are meant to bring an awareness, but also to bring preferred changes into your lives. So the basic setup, and I'll do my best to put the pictures that I took of the whiteboard on the comment feed on the YouTube. But the basic idea was that last week people were presenting to me a dichotomy between their light and their dark selves, and a lot of them would see themselves as not being the darkness, or beat themselves up when they were in the darkness rather than the light aspect of themselves. So that's what we explored. What I did was we put on one side of the board, and again you'll see it in the photos in the comments below. One side of the board was the dark side, and one side of the board was the light side. And so once we actually put that together, then we had an idea of, okay, what do we sort into the dark side, what do we sort into the light side? What I noticed about the sharing was that people wanted to start on the dark side, but they didn't want to go very deep into it. And that's not really surprising, because society has a lot to say about, getting into the dark side, or getting into the shadow self, or getting into maybe the aspects of us that we don't necessarily like, or aren't reinforced by society, or we don't identify with who we truly are. So some of the things that showed up on that, let me go ahead and pull the photo here so I can go from it. Some of the things that showed up on the dark side were self-abuse. That's been a pretty common thing recently. Everything from cutting to negative self-talk to food abuse, things like that. Inherited beliefs, which is a very insightful observation, that a lot of the dark side stuff that we deal with are beliefs that we've inherited either from family members or society or personal judgments, whatever it is. Then judgments was the next one, self and others. Attachments, fear, loneliness, anger, up to the point of flipping out, just going apey with the anger. Numbing, and again these are all the negative ones. Reclusiveness, sarcasm, hermiting, addiction, overeating, apathy, suffering, depression, anxiety, chaos, being bullied, deceptive, not only people being deceptive, but people being deceptive to them, sickness, being manipulative, jealousy, hate, war, murder, and envy all showed up on the dark side. So I kind of went through those quickly, but take a moment, if you will, in the video comments to reflect on how each of those feels for you, because that's a big part of the emotional think tanks, is tuning into not only the thoughts but the feelings, and actually finding the harmonizing ground between them. So then on the light side, or the positive side of things, we had thoughtfulness, kindness, joy, let me zoom in a little here, make it a little easier to see, activity, spontaneity, mastery, love, and especially unconditional love, which is, it's kind of a it's kind of an oxymoron, because if it's truly love, then there are no conditions. But we've all experienced varying forms and vibrations of love. So unconditional love came up on the light side of things. Additionally, passion and friendship and charity and clarity and patience and wisdom and knowledge and sharing and admiration and connection and confidence and balance and creativity and adventurousness, GSD for getting shit done, fun, magical, traveling, style, attunement, spirituality, rock star, superstar, family, affection, playfulness, humor, laughter, melancholy, vulnerability. And vulnerability is a kind of a tricky one, because when we're in the dark side of things, vulnerability can seem scary, and thoughts of death or destruction of some sort tend to come around vulnerability. But when we're on the light side, being vulnerable, being connected, really feeling that passionate connection between people, is one of the light side qualities, and it's beautiful that that came up. Let's see, intention, freedom, holding space, being relaxed, and being comfortable. Additionally, the light side also had, and this came up a little bit later, and I'll come back to it, but the light side also had trust, inspiration, and empowerment. So with emotional think tanks, the idea is to give two seemingly conflicting or two different points of view, and then find the common ground that merges them in the middle. And again, these are all crowdsourced topics. This isn't just something that I said, ooh, I'm going to throw at the whiteboard. So if you have an opportunity to view the first and second ones of Season 2, or listen to the audios of Season 1, I'm doing a companion audio with this. So you'll have the video, and then if you just want to listen to the MP3, then you can go ahead and let me know, and I will send you a copy of it through Google Drive. So in our school program, and in really all the coaching that I do, one of the tenets is the shift equation, which is E times A equals C. So your energy times your action equals your creation. Now that's something that Zoe Peacemaker and I came up with based on his process and the awareness that we're coming around to. So the energy times action equals creation is really a very simplified version of how life works. We all know that, well, to some degree or another, that when we're in a negative space, our negative energy, our negative emotions impacts not only the actions that we choose to do, but also what we get from those actions. So when we're in a negative space and we clean the house, we may tend to break things. If we're in a positive space when we clean the house, then it's done very lovingly, and there's energy flow and happiness and abundance and joy and all those other fun things that flow with it. And that's the principle of resonance. And I am being called to get more into some of these other concepts that I just kind of gloss over. A lot of people have asked me, beyond just my book, to explain some of the tenets that I adopt as part of my awareness and being, but may not be in the common consciousness just yet. So, where was I going with that? Ah, yes. So the resonance frequency. So E times A equals C. So your energy or emotions, because emotions are energy, and they're one of the ones that we really personally feel as far as energy goes. So your energy times your actions equals your creation. And the house cleaning was one example. There's countless others. I'm sure you can apply it. So the next thing was we actually went into the dark side again, and there was a lot of resistance there. Not a lot of people wanted to go back into the dark side, but they were a little more open to it since they'd spent some time in the light side. They felt good. They felt like potential and abundance, and that they could do something about it. So that's a key thing to look at as well. We have, adjusting things off screen there, we have this ability to feel, and we find ourselves going from one extreme to another. Itchy nose all of a sudden. One extreme to another, and we compare the highs and lows and how much time we feel like we spend in the quote-unquote middle. Let's see if you can see air quotes. Middle, or normal, or whatever label we want to apply to it. When the truth of the matter is that it's all about us being on our own particular journey and being content with wherever we find ourselves. And that's a true tenet throughout many different religious and spiritual paths, empowerment, seminars, whatever. But how do you do it? How do you actually get to that point? The how is the meat of everybody's personal journey. So we went back into the negative stuff, and I asked, what lessons did you learn from being in the negative stuff and making your way back out, coming into the positive stuff? Some of the lessons that came up were contrast, adapting, level up, like in gaming, you just get more superpowers, learning, growth, motivation. Compassion is a big one, because oftentimes when our lives are amazing, we kind of disassociate with the not amazing stuff, even in our own lives, but also in the lives around us. So compassion is a big one, because if you haven't gone through the stuff, then you don't really know what the feelings are, what the energy is. As soon as you do go through the stuff, then you have some kind of comparison. Even though everybody's journey is unique, you could still develop some compassion for that. Leadership, sympathy, and empathy. The key difference between those is empathically feeling emotions. You're actually feeling, you're vibrating on the same wavelength as the individual that's feeling it. Sympathy is more kind of like an intellectualized understanding. Empathy is actually literally feeling those emotions. Expanding in the depths of perception, appreciation, gratitude, equality, humor, courage, lessons, strength, endurance, confidence, self-assurance, purpose, and shift. So with SBYC actually stands for shift before you create. So going back to the equation, you have energy times action equals creation. The idea is to be conscious of your energy before acting, so that you can affect your creation. At least being conscious of it while you're acting, so that you can still affect your creation. But just being conscious, being aware of who you are and what's going on for you. The three rules of karmic processing, or the peacemaker method, or many of the other modalities that I and my friends teach, is that you are allowed to feel however you feel, for as long as you choose to feel that way. The permission to feel is a big thing right now, because there's so much feeling going on, and there's so much intellectualization and globalization of all these concepts and all this energy. The truth of the matter is that we are as much or more emotional creatures than we are, or as we are, intellectual creatures. In fact, the cube of conscious awareness that'll be in the second book goes into how the consciousness that makes up a human is actually at least sixfold. and I just present the cube as a metaphor and a visualization so that people can see how complex we really are. So I said I was going to come back to the trust, inspire, empower part. So the also value is on the light side. I don't know if I hit that. And deserving. Those are two key things that show up on the light side of things. Personal value and a sense of deserving love or compassion or affection of some form. So every time I do a class, every time I do a training or share a modality, have a private session, whatever, there's three things that I hold to be true, and they always show up in each of these individual sessions or classes or what have you. Trust. So trust is something that I struggled with a long time in my life. I had a lot of people saying that I wasn't trustworthy, I was a liar, I wasn't being honest or truthful, or many different forms. They couldn't trust me. And what I tuned into was the main reason why people couldn't trust me is I couldn't trust myself. And that was from a bunch of different things, from my childhood, from media, from a bunch of stuff around me. When I finally resolved that, and if you want to know how to do that, feel free to ask me, because it's an amazing story and it'll really empower your own personal journey. When I finally got to trusting myself, I was able to say to the world, I trust me, and I trust what I'm feeling and experiencing, and I trust what my truths are, and know them to at least be true for me. I used to think I had the answers for the entire world, and maybe in some form I do, but I know for me what's true, and I resonate that outward. So I trust myself. And by trusting myself, people find that they can be inspired by me. Another thing is I inspire myself. I give myself hugs, and I smile at myself in the mirror when I see my face, and I show myself love. And that, again, resonates that frequency, and it just radiates outward. People know that I'm trustworthy and I'm inspiring. And I know that, and I remember that. And when I don't, I allow myself to feel. And then before I get into the third aspect here, the second part of SBYC is actually what we chose to make the name. So while you're allowed to feel, the first rule, while you're allowed to feel however you feel for as long as you choose to feel that way, the second rule is you're encouraged to shift before you create. And then the third rule is that you don't use your tools to fix anybody else, their personal tools. And that's a basic tenet of any kind of energy work. But by using those three rules together, you can be empowered and inspired and really connect with the people around you, but you aren't trying to change them from who they are or where they're at on their path. So trust, inspire, and empower. So empowerment is one of those things that in my experience happens after trusting and inspiring. You begin to feel empowered, and by extension you're empowering other people. So this is what's shown up for me in all the things that I do. As I do more of them, I trust myself more. As I do more of them, I'm inspired to do more of them. As I do more of them, I'm empowered, and the people around me are empowered. And I really, truly believe that we who are alive right now can see world peace in some form within the next 30 years at the longest. And the reason for that is that while I see the war and I see the poverty and I see the pain and the rest of these things going on, and I feel those when I connect to them, what I also see are groups like TED Talks, TEDx, Sacred City, just a whole mess of communities, Revolution United, just these communities that are passionate and inspired, and rather than waiting for somebody else to give them permission or waiting for everything to be perfect, they are doing what they can when they're able to, and they're pushing forward, and they're being that committed change, that committed stand in the world. And people see that and connect with it and are inspired and empowered, and the cycle just continues. And for me, that is the basis of an abundance economy. So where we're currently at is in a very much scarcity economy. Very much, I have mine and you have yours, and if you take mine, then I have none. And I don't want to give you mine because I only have so many. But those are some of the basic tenets of a scarcity-based economy. And we've seen the symptoms of that. It's falling apart, and money is becoming devalued. And to some, this is the world falling apart, and oh no, doomsday, what are we going to do? To me, it's a natural process of dying away of things that no longer serve. And then the abundance economy is the natural rebirth of the things that do serve. So what came up, and what I'm getting to now in the class, was that the original Brahmic definition of karma, which I actually use in karmic processing, and I've adopted it as a life tenet, is that karma, the Brahma's definition for it, was simply the observation of the natural cycling between heaven and earth. And there wasn't any judgment applied to it. And there's a lot of popular, good karma, bad karma, or don't do that, or you're going to screw up your karma, or whatever the modality is. But the original Brahmic definition is simply an observation of the cycles, and that really ties into last week's topic, which was you will cycle through darkness, just as the day goes into night and then comes back to day again. It's a natural part of the process. It's a natural cycle. Honoring each aspect of that. And maybe the more difficult part is sharing those aspects. There's been a lot of societal hubbub about only being positive and law of attraction and blah blah blah. The truth is that, yeah, be positive as much as you possibly can. 4 agreements. Always do your best. But if you're in a space where you are feeling something other than positive, tune into that. Share that experience with the people that are around you, that love and care for you, because unless you communicate it, then they don't have the signal that it's okay to talk to you about it or assist or do whatever they get to do. And you'll be surprised with just a little bit, just a tiny bit of communication outside of yourself, when the internal stuff is just too intense. You will have magnificent, beautiful, powerful results from it. At the very least, talk to me. If you don't have anybody in your life that can sit and listen without judgment, I do private sessions. I do consults over instant messenger all the time. People are just in a bad spot, and they want to know that they're not alone and that it's okay, and that they're allowed to be human. And I'm absolutely ecstatic to be able to provide them an outlet, a a support, whatever they get to have. And then, so my first book is out, and if you'd like that, feel free to put it in the comments or get a hold of me on Facebook or however along those lines. I'm going to be publishing it through Kindle here pretty shortly. The illustrations are nearly done. Thank you, Tina Allen. And then I'm moving on to the second book. So the first book is Being Humans, an Explorer's Journal, and it's really about documenting your own journey, because I really want that feedback. I know that my journey is amazing. I died a couple of times. I've had really amazing life experiences and beautiful people come into my space. Yours is amazing too, and that's the idea of the abundance economy, is that your life is amazing and your gifts are amazing, and what you uniquely provide is desired by the people around you, but if you don't communicate it, they don't know what it is. And if you aren't passionate about it, then they have no reason to be passionate about it. And various other tenets like that. So that's the first book. The second book is going to be Being Humans, an operator's manual. So the first book was kind of self-exploration, as the second book will be as well, but it will go a little bit more into depth. The first book's only 19 pages. It has pictures. It's pretty easy read. It does have writing prompts, so you're encouraged to either use the back side of the paper that you printed it on, or grab a spiral notebook, or whatever works for you. Just document your own journey. And I am looking for submissions from people that do get a chance to read the book, and so that'll be content for the following ones. Because this is about our collective journey, not just my personal one. And then the third book will be Being Humans, Complete Field Guide. And so it's kind of a fun play, because one of the quotes out of Jesus' teachings that stuck with me was, "Be, therefore perfect." And so the emphasis on that isn't to be perfect, because then there wouldn't be the comma in it. The emphasis is to be exactly who you are, and in that being who you are, observe that perfection, that unique perfection that you are, expressed into the entire world. So that's a brief rundown. Feel free to, like I said, connect with me. I've got plenty more stories to share and insights, and I love to hear people's stories and really connect them to who I'm working to assist. Another thing that's available with Emotional Think Tanks is if somebody else has content that they want to share. They're really passionate about self-love, like Pegasus. She's very passionate about self-love. Or some of these other local presenters that may not have a venue, or may not have a time slot, or may not have whatever. I invite them in to share their unique insights, because it's, again, part of the abundance economy model. I'm not trying to maintain the monopoly on the resources. In fact, all of my resources that I've got, I'm open to outflowing to bring in more useful, more powerful, more connected ways of being for myself and others. That's part of my personal journey. So connect with me, contact, interact with each other, whatever works for you. This is about us being humans, however we get to be. I thank you for your time. Namaste, and blessings to you all.